Hey guys, it's Jericho2 here for runitones.com and welcome to episode number 7 of my mini course Redline Mastery. Today we're going to talk about calling turn overbets. How do we call massive turn bets? So in this episode we'll focus on calling those massive turn bets in single raise spot. In a previous episode, we saw that we could raise those turn bets. In this one, we will also see that given the right circumstances, we can also call them. So every time I get new students, they always fold way too much to overbets on the turn. And I've seen it too at regs at mid stakes. They are a bit better than your average like small stakes player, but even then, there are some that will just like overfold a lot. I've seen players basically versus turnover, but just fold everything except like nuts, basically. So I think a lot of players, they don't defend properly in that node. I get some students that come to me and they have a near 50% fold to turn bet, which is really high. You can just bet any two and make a profit, basically. I've seen regs at the stakes that I played that had high 40s fold to turn bet, so this is really high as well. And usually we want to be in the low 40s, okay, so give or take. So first of all, we'll look up my 500NL database on this computer and check my fold to turn bet. And then we will take a look at a few hands where I called really big turnover bets. And we're going to check in the solver if it was accurate or not. And we'll try to look a bit at the range, like how the range interacts versus those turnover bets. And then we'll try to find some patterns and come up with a logical conclusion. Sounds good. Before we get into the hands, like we need to know what are we looking for when calling turnover bets. So the very definition of overbet in the poker world is polarization. So either the opponent has a monster or nothing. There's no in between really. And by monster, like it's a bit liberal. Like I mean, like that players will usually never have weaker than top pair for value in their turnover betting range. So they're not going to overbet like second pair on the turn in a single raise spot or stuff like this. So therefore, we want hands that can improve to nuts or near nuts heading to the river. Or we want hands that don't block any of villain's potential bluffs and block villain's value. So if you have a hand that doesn't block any of villain's potential bluffs and blocks villain's value, then more likely than not, it's probably a call. Depending on the sizing too, I'll get to that. So we do want to be sticky with the right combos on the turn, but yeah, but one must also know that you are allowed to fold more given the massive turn size. So that's where I was heading. If the size is massive, like super big, we are allowed to fold a decent amount. Like you don't have to make those crazy thin calls like versus a really bad pot odds. What we are focusing on today is finding the right calls versus those turnover bets so that we do not end up folding 90% plus of our range because we do not know which combos in our range are calls. And I've seen players like that. It's just like, okay, click 1.5x spot and just get massive amount of folds. And the times you don't get those folds, it's like pair plus draw or they just jam on you the nuts, So yeah, it's pretty. Sometimes there are some few regs that are very easy to play against when you overbet the turn, so they're kind of face up. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the 7 hands that I have selected for us to go over in Paio, and also I'll show you my turn. So here we have my database 500NL, almost 800k hands on this computer. And I forgot to show it to you, but my turn fold versus bet 40, turn fold versus C bet 40.1. So that's where we want to be. We want to be in the low 40s. Because if you're at 50%, they have a profitable bet with any two, right? So So you want to be in that low 40s range there. I know versus overbets we can fold more than that for sure, but I wouldn't just like fold anything everything but nuts, So we have to be judicious here. Okay, so I've selected 7 hands where I do end up making a call versus a turnover bet. So we'll get into them. So I flat 10-7 of hearts versus button, ace jack 9, two-tone. So he bets fairly big on this texture. Some guys will go bigger, some guys will go smaller. We could definitely raise. I probably rolled low. Call. And then he goes pretty big here. And again, I think both options are available to us here. I don't think we can fold, but we can look it up in the sim. Call and then have to fold. So yeah, I think most people would get that you need to continue there on the turn, even though we have 10-eye, we have a flush draw, and we have a gutter. And so I think we just have to continue, but we'll take a look at the overall range as well, like what we need to continue, which I have just. So the sim has already been solved for the turn. So this would be our turn range after calling the fluff bet, the turnover bet, okay. And here we get our range. So let's take a look first at our combo. 10-7 of hearts, can raise, can call, mostly raise. And if we raise, it's jam. So really putting the pressure. We can see 2 pairs are going to raise a decent amount. Ace deuce, ace 9, ace jack, jack 9. Jack 9 suited, just not wasting any time. As for the top pairs, you have ace queen, like always calling. And then ace 10 already starting to fold a decent amount because the 10 is not good. Blocks a lot of bluffs. 10-7, queen 10, king 10. Yeah, ace 8 is the worst because it blocks a lot of bluffs too. 10-8, 8-7, queen 8. Ace 7 is a little bit better, and then ace 5 doesn't block many bluffs, so it's more of a call. And ace 3 is 4 don't block that many, block 0 bluffs, maybe only like 5-4. Yeah, so it's really good. Ace 6 is pure. I wouldn't have guessed that. But yeah, so we have to continue top pairs that are blocking the less bluffs possible. And yeah, so this is it. We can see that you can even fold some nut flush draws there, which is pretty sick. The ones that block bluffs are mostly gonna fold, and king 6, king 5, king 4 are not blocking that many. I don't know why king 3 is a fold, but king 4 is not. Must be a Pio thing. And okay, flush draw plus pairs. Pair plus flush draw is always going to call. As we can see here. 10-8 here is a pure call. It's funny that 10-7 is a jam, but 10-8 is a pure call. I mean, I understand 10-8 you have a little bit more equity. It's an open-ender. But it's funny. I thought there would definitely be some raises there. And then we have some mixes at the bottom here, like gutter plus flush draw is going to mix call raise. Except for 4-3, that is just pure jam, and 4 deuce and 3 deuce mixes. So you can see the range more or less. It's like top pairs that don't block bluffs. It's good flush draws. It's flush draws plus straight draws. 2 pairs. And we have a little bit of queen jack here and king jack. Those are really tough calls. But that's it. So here we can see we're still folding 59% here. I told you guys we will need to fold way more. But what I usually see sometimes is people like folding ace 3, ace 4. I've seen people like folding like 4-3 because they don't know what to do here. And I get it if you're scared to raise and calling sucks with 4 high right out of position. So it's good to have a look at the range here. I think king jack I thought it would be more of a call just because the king is usually won't block that many bluffs. But yeah, I'm surprised. But yeah, we need to have a little bit more of those calls in there, those weak top pairs just heading to the river, just because otherwise we're going to fold way too much. 59% is already a lot here. So yeah, this was the first hand. We'll see the other ones. Hand number 2 versus Gazi B, mid open from cutoff. I call the big blind. Check call, pretty standard on the flop. That's a pretty big size though for that board, not gonna lie. And then he overbets on the king turn, which is definitely good from his part. I seen people fold this type of hand here, and I don't agree that it's a fold. And the solver, I'm pretty sure, will back me up on this. But yeah, king queen, okay, fine. So let's get into it. So this will be our turn range after calling the flop bet. This is Gazi's turnover betting range. Betting a lot, like 68%. It's a good card for him. And this is our turn range here. What do we do versus the turnover bet? Our response here. We can see Jack 5 is a mix here. Not always going to be a call. Mostly a fold, actually. The 5, not that great. The important thing to remember here is to not fold every time, because we're already folding 66% here. So the 7s, the 6, the 5s are not going to be good. They're going to block a lot of bluffs, but we still need to call them every now and then. The other Jack X, Ace Jack, I would never fold, but I understand why you would fold sometimes with the Ace of Hearts to block like a pretty big portion of his bluffs when you have the Ace of Hearts, as we can see here. Ace Queen, you can call Ace Queen. I think a lot of people here are folding Ace Queen. A lot of reds are folding it, but you do make a very disguised nuts on a 10, and the overcard is also really good. Yeah, so, and maybe sometimes you win on showdown versus give ups too. Like, let's say he has like 10-9 of hearts, kind of has to give up, so you kind of win there on a blank. What else? Queen Jack, mostly calling. Jack 9 is really bad because you block so many bluffs. That's good. Yeah, Jack 10, Jack 9, just blocking way too many straight draws here. I kind of get it why you would want to fold those. Queen 10, mostly just raising or folding. I like that. What else? Nut flush draws are calling. The lower ones are raising. I understand this because so let's say you have ace 9 or ace 10 here, you're going to block a lot of his mid flush draws that are betting. But the lower you go, the lesser you block those. So let's say I have like ace 3 here. I'm not blocking him from having like 10-7 of hearts, queen 10 of hearts, stuff like this. And if I have ace 10, I'm blocking him from having this. I should have said like one with a 9, like queen 9 of hearts, If I have ace 3, I'm not blocking him from having this, so I can raise here. Whereas if I have ace 9, ace 10, I kind of block those bluffs, right? King 4, 2 pairs, okay. And then the king X are never going to fold, so because they're turn top pairs, they're really high in our range. 2 pairs are raising. Can raise queen 4, okay. Sets, not going to have that many. They're going to raise the flop a decent amount. And then some weaker 2 pairs are going to call, and then pair plus draw. Pair plus draw can raise the lower the kicker is. I like this. So yeah, you can see the overall range. We're still folding a shit ton here. A lot, but I think a lot of people would fold like ace queen every time. A lot of people would fold those Jack X every single time. And I think sometimes people would fold the weakest flush draws here, like 7-5, 6-5. Or they would call them instead of raising. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would not call or raise queen 10. They would just fold it. So there's that. So you can see there's a lot of stuff going on there that we still need to call or raise. So it's good to take a look at the range. Let's go to hand number 3. Against button this time. Call, flop, call, ace 9. We float. turn, overbet, call. I think this one, most people would get it. And we showdown against Miss Flush Draw. So we're mostly going to have a look at the range here and see what we do end up calling on the turn. Because flop was pretty standard, and then you overbets on the turn. Ace 9, pure call. And I believe, King 9 never folding. And yeah, you can see that you have to call all those under pairs here. A lot of people would just like snap fold threes here, but because it's so high in our range, it's button versus big blind on queen, deuce, deuce, rainbow. We're not going to have that many good hands there. We're going to have top pair and that's it. So here, this is what I wanted to showcase a lot here, that showcase the most. It's the calling the under pairs here. You still have to call those hands, and I think a lot of people just like snap fold them. Also, calling King Jack off here. Nobody does that. A little bit of King 10 off. Like, I'm going to be hard-pressed finding somebody calling King 10 here. Jack A. Okay, I think people would get that one. 10-8, yeah. And then the deuces. And the flush draws. And yeah, so the main ones that are sticking out. The 9 is fine. It's mostly the King Jack, the King 9, the King 10, and the under pairs here. And we're still folding 64%. We're folding a lot, but we have to make those tough calls here. Because you just saw we often win against give up, and button versus big blind in position is gonna have a lot of bluffs on a brick run out. So we have to make those tough calls. Next up we have that's a cool one. Versus button. Bet, call, could raise, could call. 2x, call, could. I think we can definitely raise here. And then river, we miss. I think turn is a mix. Let's have a look here. So it's already been solved for the turn. So this is our range on the turn after calling a min raise spree and then a small bet on the flop. Oops. Sorry, guys. This is going to be villain's turn overbetting range. Now he overbets almost 2x, which is pretty insane. And this is our range versus the overbet. What do we do? Well, surprisingly, 7-5 of diamonds has no raises. I thought for sure it would have some raises here. And definitely a decent difference between call and raise and EV. Okay. As for the other ends, we can see Jack X never folding unless there's a Jack 3 of clubs here sometimes, and then Jack 8 and Jack 7, a little bit of folding because the 8 and the 7, they block a lot of straight draws, which you don't want to be doing. Ace 9, King 9 are mixing. Yeah, Queen 9 as well. And there we have Jack 8, Jack 7 mostly mixing as well, okay, because their kicker is not great. Nut flush draws are not going anywhere. And we can raise here with pair plus draw. I think most people just call those. They never raise them. And I usually call them more often than I'm raising them. So it's good to see the solver raising them. I should incorporate that a little bit more into my game. Yeah, definitely can raise there. Ace Jack, I like the Ace Jack raise there. Oftentimes they're good, but like a lot of the times the river will kind of mess up your hands. So I think it's good to raise it every now and then. I would probably raise it more than those frequencies there. And okay, 6-4, that's 2 pairs. 9 deuce, 9-3, those are pair plus draw. Okay, Jack X. 3 deuce of diamonds. Yeah, we 2, 3. Yeah, we have a gutter. Okay. So there we can definitely raise. So I think a lot of people would be missing some 9x calls here. I definitely think they would fold a lot of the 9x here. And I understand it's 2x overbet, right? Like you have to fold a lot here, but you can see we're already folding 67%. This is what I want you guys to keep in mind. We're folding a lot already. And so there are second pair type of hands that we still need to have in our calling range. Flush draws are mostly just calling one way or another because it's hard to have a flush draw that doesn't have a gutter or something. But we found one here, 8-3 ace deuce. Those are the ones you're gonna be folding. And then with 9x flush draw, you're gonna have some mixes with raises. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, this will be the range. So yeah, don't forget to call your 9x here. Can you even call some king queen eye? Yeah, that's pretty wild. We can see ace 6 of spades calling just because it doesn't block any bluffs, right? I mean, it's a mix, but yeah. King 4, queen 4. You have some like fourth pair here calling as well. So yeah, lots of calling even though we're folding so much. Okay, next hand. Queen 10 versus versus cutoff, sorry. Bet small, call. Turn over bet, call. And river. We lost. But yeah, I believe this is mixing probably on the turn with all three options. Again, already been solved for the turn. So this is our range on the turn. Check. Overbet, I like this. And yeah, basically mixing all three options. To raise, you need the club, but yeah, we can definitely call, fold, smidge of raising without the club. So I like that. Versus the turnover bet here, folding 56%. So not as much as the other cases we saw. You can see ace 9 here, calling a decent amount. That's second pair. We have some king queen eyes call here. King queen eye calls. I mean, we just did a queen eye call, right? So without a flush draw. Here we have some. You can see here. This is pretty sick. You have like ace 5. No flush draw, just ace high calling here because of the gutter too, and also it doesn't block many bluffs. Like you sometimes win at showdown versus like king queen of diamonds, and so that's pretty great. And it's very disguised when you hit the 3, or I guess when you hit the ace, you're also more often than not good. Ace 9, okay, the not flush draws. We can see ace deuce here. That's bottom pair. It's not folding, just calling. It doesn't block any bluffs, only blocks value. Aces, deuces, ace jack. It's really good hand to call. The top pairs are never folding from what I've seen. Seems about right. And the 9x are going to be mixing. Okay, 8-7, raising, 9x. Like 9-8, 9-7. I think a lot of people would just like snap fold those. Definitely need to call them. 5-4 off, 5-4 suited, like pure calls. Nobody does that. Nobody calls those hands. 4-3, 4 deuce. 4 deuce is two pairs, but like 4-3. I think those hands are called because when you hit two pairs, your villain is never improving on those two pairs, right? Whereas if you hit two pair with the 9-8, sometimes they'll have queen 10, 10-7. Yeah, so I think that's why when you hit the 5 or the 6, you're gonna be golden. You're not gonna get cooler. Same thing with the 7, right? Because you can have 10-8 sometimes when you hit the 7. So I think that's why. Yeah, the 8-4 is always folding, right? Because queen 10 is a thing. So yeah, I understand why those hands are called, but it's still pretty sick that those are like pure calls. Like we can see 5-3 here, just raising. I think a lot of people miss that raise, just fold. So yeah, we have some like third pair calling, second pair calling. We have some ace eye calls. We have some queen eye calls, king eye calls. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here. We're still folding more than half the time as well, so keep that in mind. Next hand we have, I think most people would get this right. That one they would get it right. versus cutoff, bet, call, overbet, call, pair plus gutter. And we do end up winning at showdown versus missed flush draw and straight draw. So let's go again in the solver from the turn. Overbet, I like that here. Definitely a big range advantage for him, and a card that doesn't really improve us. And overbets here. Queen 10, we can see mixing on the turn. If you have the 10 of spades, you're gonna call a bit more. I guess it's because you do block bluffs, but I think you have more visibility on the river, on a spade river, so that's why it gives you a little bit more playability on rivers. Queen Jack, surprisingly, always a call. I guess you block less bluffs with Jack X than with 10x. That must be the logic here. Jack 9 mixing. You can see you really want the spade here. 10-9 just straight up folding. Okay. And we can see that how important having the extra equity, the straight draw is, because the other King X, if they don't have the straight draw, they're just like folding here. I've seen people call King 7 here and top pair, it's so high in my range. I think here there's some there in this sim, there's people that are gonna be calling some combos more, and they're gonna be folding some combos less of some combos. So yeah, it's a weird one, that one. But yeah, so those are all gonna be folds because you really need the extra equity with the gutter. 2 pairs, okay. Jack 9 mix. No, you need the straight draw, the flush draw, okay. This is pretty sick. If you have the Jack X of spades here, you're just raising, which I really like, or the 10x too. I think a lot of people would miss those. They would like call or fold. I don't know. And yeah, 9-8, 9-6. Ace 10, Ace Jack. Okay. Yeah, so I think most people would get this right. Maybe they might even overcall. This might be the first one where I think the population might overcall a little bit. They might call too many Jack 9. They might call too many like King X here. Yeah, and we can see Queen 10. Like it's a mix. So yeah, we're still folding 60% here. Like I told you guys, we need to defend versus overbet, but we also need to like take into consideration the bet size. Yeah, the size of the bet size. So yeah. Let's go to the last hand now that I had selected. Okay, Queen 8 versus Mad Tilt. Call. And here I call. And we showdown versus 5-eye flush draw, miss flush draw. So you guys know the drill. We come here. Check. Turn, he bets, overbets. And our hand is a pure call, and we can see we need to keep in mind it's button versus big blind. He bets small on the flop, and then we get to the turn. Like second pair is going to be quite high in our range still. Yeah, we're going to have like some top pair, but second pair will still be really, really high because we're going to be folding all this region of other pairs as well. We're going to be folding some 8x, the weaker 8x, the weakest 8x that we have, like 9-8, 8-6, 8-5, 8-5, 8-4. Those are not always going to be folds, but they're going to be mixing. And we're going to be folding some third pairs, Queen Deuce. Ace Deuce always a call, you can see, but Queen Deuce like mixing. 3x, okay, that's 2 pair, that's pair plus flush draw. Here we can mix with gutter plus flush draw, okay. Yeah, so this is definitely an example where I think people will overfold second pair, and they will overfold the deuce X as well. And we're still folding 55%, so yeah, you can see ace 5 off is a pure call here. It's a gutter and an overcard, out of position. So yeah, I think people are gonna miss those calls here. The Queen Jack of clubs call. I don't know if people missed that one. It's a definitely a tough one here. Queen nine of clubs is a call. Okay, Queen seven. You can see the Queen eye flush draws. They're gonna call here, even without a pair. They're gonna be mixing the low ones, but the bigger ones are gonna call. And Jack seven of clubs gonna raise. 10-7 of clubs gonna raise. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of cool hands. I really like it. 5-4 raising. 5-3 of diamonds is mixing calls here. That's pretty sick, you know. So there's definitely, I think this sim, like, there's a lot of people missing out. 6 deuce off. Nobody is called 6 deuce. 6 deuce without a draw. Nobody is calling 6 deuce here. No one. So definitely a lot of calls are being missed here versus population. So yeah, let's get back to the PowerPoint now. The findings, like what do we want to call here usually? Top pair and strong second pair will usually continue. Pair plus draw is almost always a continue. Pair plus gutter, pair plus open-ended, pair plus flush draw. Draws to the nuts or near nuts will usually continue. We saw either through the form of a raise or a call. And we saw that in the later battle of later position, let's say button versus big blind, we have to make some really tough calls with third pair, fourth pair. So there's that as well. And it's very easy to start overfolding turn when unsure about theory. So now you guys are a little bit more in tune with the theory behind calling overbets. And we also saw that we could call like king queen off on jack 9 X, you know, just because we have the 2 overs gutter. We saw we could call ace 5 on king 8 3 deuce, you know, just because we have overcard gutter. So there's a lot of stuff here that we can still call in the turn. So yeah, when calling big bets on the turn, single raise spot out of position, we do end up being tougher to play against because we make villain play the river. A river where we might sometimes improve on, a river where villain might just give up because of his combo. So we saw that a lot, like when he has a flush draw, he kind of has to give up a lot. Or a river that might just be good for us to bluff catch on. We make villain work even more for the pot. So it's not like blindly overbet and then we fold everything and he's good to go, right? So when becoming even stickier on the turn, red line will usually bleed less. Of course, there are times where we will call turn and then fold river. We saw this a few times in the hands that I selected. However, the number of times where we do end up getting to showdown will salvage our red line way more than if we had decided to overfold the turn. So yeah, guys, this was the Jericho 2 for runatones.com. I hope that you enjoyed that episode. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.